Chapter 12. Pursuit. April 2nd, Universal Century 0088. The Pegasus 3 was supposed to be speeding towards the treacherous space near Lone, hot on the trail of the Neo-Zeon and A.E.U.G fleet. But fate had other plans. The Axis fleet, a splinter faction of the Neo-Zeon, had broken rank and now stood defiantly in the Pegasus 3's path, hurling provocative threats and intimidating attacks. A sleek Gaza-type mobile suit, emblazoned with Axis military colors, streaked past the bridge of the Pegasus 3 at blistering speed. While it refrained from outright aggression, the maneuver was a blatant taunt, a dare to make the first move. Captain Heathrow gritted his teeth, all too aware that the instigator of this brewing conflict would bear the stain of starting the war. It was a burden he was under strict orders to avoid at all costs. It was a strict order from the Earth Federation Forces headquarters. For 2 grueling hours, the Axis fleet kept up their maddening dance of provocation. With no other recourse, Captain Heathrow could only order the ship to inch forward at a painstaking crawl. Throughout the ship, crew members huddled around onboard monitors, watching the infuriating spectacle unfold. In the pilot ready room, those on standby for sortie clenched their fists as they observed the scene. "Don't these guys ever get tired of this song and dance?" groused Roots, interlacing his fingers behind his head as he stretched out in his chair. Crypt stood and sauntered over to the microwave to heat up his vacuum-sealed lunch. "Maybe they're just itching for a fight," he mused. As he waited, Wes plopped down in the newly vacated seat, the enticing aroma of demi-glace sauce from his heated meal wafting over to tickle Root's nostrils. "You dimwit, I'm not talking about the mobile suit jockeys out there," Roots grumbled. "I'm talking about the slop they keep serving us. Same damn menu, week in, week out. I can't fathom how you guys don't get sick of it." Well, look who's suddenly a gourmand," Crypt chuckled, rubbing his hands in anticipation as his meal warmed. West shrugged, taking a bite of his Liberty steak. "It is what it is. That's military life for you." Roots scoffed. "There you go again, using military as an excuse for everything. Who died and made them king? I can't wrap my head around how you just put up with it all. I enlisted thinking I was signing up for vocational training, you know? Folks like me were treated like garbage without marketable skills. Figured I'd pick up a trade, then get the hell out of Dodge. But no, fate's got a sick sense of humor, sticking me in a mobile suit cockpit. Guess being a pilot is supposed to be some elite gig, a real resume patter. Load of good that does me now, dragged into this godforsaken meat grinder. You're one to talk, Tex. Bet you're real comfy with killing, aren't ya? Did plenty of that with Caraba or whatever? My senior in slaughter." West's normally gentle eyes flashed with a dangerous glint. Sensing the shift in atmosphere, Crypt stepped in. "Weren't you the one chomping at the bit to dive into this war?" "Yeah, I didn't think it would be about killing people. I thought it would be more fun and cool. But now, it's different. Too late for that, Ace. We're all killers now, whether we like it or not. You think Tex enjoys snuffing out lives? You think any of us do?" Crypt retrieved his lunch from the microwave and plopped down into a chair. "Look alive. It's Liberty steak today. It's just synthesized soy protein, isn't it? Shows what you know, genius. Pilots get the real deal. Genuine grade of beef." "That's so? Guess I'd better eat up then, for the cow's sake." "Where'd Sigmund scuttle off to?" "Simulator room," Wes replied. "Been drilling himself to the bone in there ever since he got shot down over the moon." Roots stood, stretching as he ambled over to grab his own lunch pack. "Dedicated son of a gun, ain't he?" Crypt aimed his dull plastic knife at West. "What about you, Tex? You ever gonna let that temper off its leash?" West sighed. "Rio might have the right of it. What good's my anger? All this talk of ideals and convictions. It's just constructs dreamed up by people. Put 10 folks in a room, you'll get 10 different sets of values. But we keep trying to force it all into one box with majorities and rules and whatnot. And that's why we tear each other apart. Doesn't that strike you as all kinds of messed up? Crypt shrugged. Hey, that's all above my pay grade. Pretty sure Rio's not waxing philosophical either. He doesn't have to be. He feels it in his bones. Life's taught him that much. What? You saying he's some kind of new type? Nah. He's just a free spirit who calls it like he sees it. Hates anything that tries to put people in neat little boxes. Governments, social castes, all that nonsense. 'Cause when you get down to it, it's all about control, isn't it? Caging the human spirit. Crypt snorted. Sounds like the bitter ravings of a self-centered orphan to me. In the cockpit of the Zeonic-Corps, Kray's eyes were glued to the shifting time display. The Neo-Zeon's trio of spaceships had already slipped into Penta's observable space. A ghost fleet poised to strike. Moored nearby, 3 Mammoth Enterprise-class space shuttles awaited, the perfect vessels for their audacious final gambit. Masquerading as allies, the Neo-Zeon ships had crept closer, broadcasting friendly IFF signals. To Penta's unsuspecting defenders, they must have seemed like the vanguard of the main fleet, returning triumphant from the moon. Little did they know that the Zeonic-Corps, detached from the cruiser Brave and now flying solo, had swelled their number to 4. Elsewhere, 5 Zeku lurked amidst the drifting space debris, hidden predators ready to pounce. The synchronized chronometers ticked down to 0 hour. Kray's voice crackled over the comm. It's party time! As one, the ships, mobile suits, and the Zeonic-Corps surged forward, hurtling toward Penta at maximum combat speed. They braced for resistance, but none came. The mobile suits fanned out, each claiming a cylinder section of Penta, while the ships docked forcefully at the mooring booms. The Zeonic-Corps, a beast awakening, transformed from its central axis into a gaping, cross-like maw. Twin mega-cannons emerged from its belly, bared fangs thirsting for destruction. Crew members armed with gas machine guns and close combat equipment poured in from the docked ships. Kray's voice boomed through Penta speakers, an ultimatum drenched in menace. We are new Decides, and we claim Penta in the name of our cause. We have a mobile armor, mobile suits, and battleships at our command. Resist, and we will not hesitate to reduce Penta to ashes. Those who fight back will be cut down without mercy. But lay down your arms, and we vow to spare your lives. The message looped, a sinister chorus. In the Zeonic-Corps' secondary cockpit, Side remarked, Lieutenant Kray, this brings back memories of Pazoon. This mobile armor had 2 cockpits, one above and one below, based on the longitudinal axis of the fuselage. Kray nodded grimly. True, but with a twist. Back then, we had strength in numbers, and our foes were warriors with mobile suits to match our own. But this is how it all began, isn't it? He marveled at the echoes of history, a new chapter unfolding in an all-too-familiar pattern. Penta's staff, mechanics, and support crew alike stared out the windows in mute horror at the Zeku Eins and Zeku Zwei, ominous silhouettes against the void. But it was the twin mega-cannons that truly froze their blood, looming behind the mobile suits like the eyes of some colossal, malevolent deity. To their minds, the Zeonic-Corps was no mere mobile armor, but a monster made metal. As the Neo-Zeon troops, clad in close combat gear, flooded in, Penta's personnel broke, surrendering in droves. A valiant few among the security staff fought back, but their resistance guttered out with the last rounds in their magazines. In a scant 2 hours, Penta fell, its defiance snuffed out like a candle. Surveying the cowed prisoners huddled in Penta's mess hall, now ringed by armed soldiers, Cray muttered, almost anticlimactic, really. "What about the shuttles?" he asked a passing soldier. "The shuttles are secure, not a scratch on them. We're prepping to load cargo now." "Well done. Carry on." Cray had docked the A.E.U.G and come to take stock after receiving word of Penta's swift capitulation. The mobile suit team had already wormed their way into Penta's core through the mobile suit hatches, now nestled snugly in the central hangar. To an outside observer, there was scarcely a hint of the brief but fierce struggle that had just unfolded. Only the Musai-class cruiser and the hulking mobile armor, out of place at Penta's mooring points, hinted at anything amiss. But even the refit Musai was a common sight, a workhorse of the Earth Federation and colonial defense fleets alike. And stripped of armaments as it was, it seemed no more than an innocent supply vessel. As for the A.E.U.G, plucked from the Axis forces arsenal, it was a ghost, absent from any Federation database. Its sheer bulk disguised its true nature, just another lumbering auxiliary ship to the untrained eye. Now, a new dawn set the Earth aglow beyond Penta's spires. "Captain, we're approaching the 6-hour mark." The navigator's words hung heavy in the air, a reminder of the relentless psychological assault the Axis forces had subjected them to. The crew and the mobile suit pilots on standby were at their breaking point, nerves frayed to the brink of snapping. Captain Heathrow's jaw clenched, a vein pulsing in his temple. "Enough. The enemy must be as exhausted as we are. Deploy the mobile suit team to form a defensive perimeter around the ship. The moment they're in position, punch it to maximum combat speed and get us the hell out of here." The navigator hesitated. "But, sir, what if we engage the enemy?" "We won't. Evasive maneuvers only. They're no more eager for war than we are. I'll bear the responsibility. Now carry out your orders." The Level 1 alert siren screamed to life, a banshee's wail that sent the Pegasus 3 into barely controlled chaos. In the mobile suite hangar, a flurry of activity surrounded the Gundam as technicians prepped it for an unconventional deployment. The marvel of engineering was designed to split into 3 distinct combat units, each a formidable force in its own right. But this approach came with a trade-off, dividing the Gundam's singular might between 3 vessels, diluted its fearsome potential. This was because the Gundam was designed to perform at its best when operated as a single, standalone mobile suit. This was true for any weapon. No matter how much they touted versatility, there was always a basic principle. Even though it was designed with versatility in mind, the separation and combination functions of the Gundam were merely extras. It was a desperate play, a last resort born of necessity. The loss of the Phase and the crippling damage to the Z2, Plus, and Nero had left them woefully under strength. The Gundam's modular design, once a clever party trick, now served as a lifeline, a jury-rigged solution to a crippling shortage of operational mobile suits. Crypt strapped himself into the G-Attacker, the transformed torso of the Gundam a parts. West took the controls of the G-Bomber, the B-parts that formed the mobile suit's legs, and Roots nestled into the cockpit of the core fighter, the pulsing heart of the machine. Should be a smoother ride than the Wyvern, at least. "All right, boys. Let's give 'em hell." Root's voice crackled over the comm as the trio of units rocketed from the launch catapults in quick succession. They quickly assumed formation above the Pegasus 3, a triad of guardians standing vigil over their mothership. Crypt couldn't suppress a wry chuckle. "Some mobile suit team we are. Feels like we're half a squad with the Nero team still in the shop." "Cut the chatter. We've got incoming." From on high, a trio of Gaza-type mobile suits bore down on them, the vanguard of the Axis forces. Their tight formation mirrored that of the Gundam, a mocking echo of the Pegasus 3's own defensive posture. It was clear their intent was to run a simulated anti-ship assault drill with the Pegasus 3 as their practice dummy. Root's voice crackled with barely contained fury over the comm. The nerve of these bastards, using our mothership for target practice. Well, 2 can play at that game. Shin, Tex, let's give 'em a taste of their own medicine. The Corps fighter surged forward, a dart hurling itself at the heart of the Gaza formation. The G attacker and G bomber followed in its wake. 3 space fighters, heading straight for us. The Gaza Sea pilot's voice crackled with tension as he hastily relayed the report to his squadron leader. No need to worry. It's just a scare tactic. They wouldn't dare open fire. Ignore them and focus on the mock assault. His laughter died in his throat as a space fighter screamed past, close enough to rattle his teeth. Crazy bastards. Are they trying to start a war? The Corps fighter danced before the Gaza formation, its erratic zigzag path a brazen taunt. Abruptly, it shot skyward, vaulting over the enemy craft. In a heartbeat, it settled behind the rearmost Gaza, its wingmen sliding neatly into formation. In the Corps fighter's cockpit, Roots allowed himself a predatory grin. With surgical precision, he centered the targeting reticle on the Gaza before him. A flick of a switch, and the laser painted his hapless foe. The Gaza Sea's cockpit exploded with shrill warning tones. Commander, they've got a lock on us. Impossible. Are they insane? Could it be? A declaration of war from their homeland. Abort. Withdraw immediately. The Gaza formation executed evasive maneuvers, performing a 180-degree turn and setting a course for home. Look at 'em run! Spineless cowards, Roots crowed, his voice thick with disdain. Manning's voice crackled over the comm, warm with approval. Well done, Roots. As he spoke, the Pegasus 3's main nozzle flared brightly, propelling the massive ship forward with a sudden burst of acceleration. Hey, speed is great and all, but don't leave us behind. Crypt's mock, plaintive tone drew raucous laughter from both Roots and West. The new Decide seized control of Penta 6 hours ago. Heathrow informed Mannings, summoning him to the captain's quarters to share the freshly received communication. The audio set played Somewhere Over the Rainbow, a recently revived hit song from an earlier century. The Pegasus 3, having successfully evaded the Axis forces' intimidation tactics, had now reached the treacherous depths of the L1 sector. Of course, the new Decides were long gone by then. Time had marched on, and by Earth Standard Time, it was now April 3rd. They played us like a fiddle, stalling for time. But what could they possibly hope to achieve by capturing Penta? Mannings mused, his brow furrowed in thought. Heathrow shrugged. They might intend to drop Penta onto Earth, or perhaps use it as a staging ground for a ground assault. We won't know unless we ask them directly. What would your friend make of this? Hard to say, given that I don't even know if he's alive. But I'm certain of one thing. He's a brilliant strategist. He might have tricks we can't even fathom. Judging from the earlier intimidation tactics by the Axis forces, it's safe to assume they've severed ties with the new Decides, Heathrow remarked. Mannings nodded, without a doubt. If that man is still alive, he would never align himself with Zeon. You sound awfully confident about that. Let's just say there are certain circumstances. Personal reasons, really. Heathrow snorted. In any case, keep in mind that we may have to execute the Penta recapture operation on our own. What's the current status of our mobile suit squadron? Mannings pulled out his handheld computer terminal from his pocket and called up the current mobile suit repair status. 2 Z2 Pluses and the S Gundam should be operational. But the Nero team is out of commission. Only my Nero is functional. That's troubling. We're severely undermanned. Consider reorganizing the current mobile suit team members. I'll leave that to you. Captain, I've already taken care of that. Roots, West and Crypt will handle the S Gundam. Like before, we'll split up the S Gundam to bolster our numbers. It's not an ideal solution, but Crypt was a candidate pilot for the S Gundam, and judging by his personality, West should be able to keep the other two in line. As for the two Z2 pluses, Shade will remain as is, and I plan to assign the other one to Chung Young from the Nero team. Chung Young's machine conversion training is nearly complete, so we can secure 5 units as our ship's combat strength. Heathrow grinned, pointing his index finger at Manning's. And don't forget about your Nero, right? Feel free to count it among our numbers. Though that's assuming a trainer unit can be of any use. 3 Gelgoog mobile suits, their green armor gleaming menacingly, charged forward in perfect formation. Frozen in terror, he could only stand helplessly before the onslaught of their beam rifles. The space fortress loomed ominously behind him, its poisonous mushroom-like shape enveloped in an eerie bubble of light. Each searing impact from the enemy's beams tore away arms and legs from his gym mobile suit. In a surreal twist, it was suddenly his own body being dismembered instead of the gym. Alone, with no allies in sight, fear robbed him of his voice. Cursing his fatal mistake of ignoring orders and pursuing too deeply, he watched in horror as the Gelgoogs transformed from mobile suits into hellish wardens. They circled him mockingly, reveling in his helplessness. With each pass, their great scythes sliced into his flesh, painting it crimson with his own blood. He tried to scream, but no sound escaped his throat. Suddenly, a glimmer of hope, a lone white humanoid figure appeared, dissipating the suffocating aura of death. A mobile suit, he realized, missing its right leg. Stole. Cray jolted awake, the nightmare that had been haunting him, leaving him drenched in sweat. The memories of the 1-year war had resurfaced to haunt his dreams. He noticed Side's concerned face peering at him from the adjacent bed. "It's nothing. Just a bad dream," Cray reassured him. "Are you sure you're all right, Lieutenant? You don't look well. We can't afford any issues, not with the operation so close at hand." "No. Really, it's fine. Fast. What time is it?" "Earth Standard Time, April 4th, 0500 hours. "I see. So I slept for 6 hours. Only 3 hours left until the mission begins." Cray forced himself out of bed. "Lieutenant, you need to rest. We have to provide cover for the descent and crash the Zeonic-Corps. The shuttle preparations are complete, so let's take it easy. Commanders don't have that luxury. I want to check on the Zeonic-Corps. I'm still not used to it." "Can't be helped then. I'll come with you." Side also pulled himself out of bed, and together they headed for the mooring boom. The shuttle for the Earth descent was ready, awaiting the final checks. In 3 hours, they would depart Penta and head for Dakar. Climbing into the Zeonic-Corps cockpit, the two performed the final checks on each system. The compartment of this mobile armor, originally intended for housing quasi-psycho weaponry, was now packed tightly with large ship-to-ship missiles obtained at Penta. However, these missiles were not meant for attacking. They would serve as explosives when the Zeonic-Corps itself was used as a bomb to crash into the Earth. As such, the launch and control systems for the missiles were absent. The plan was for the two of them to set the craft on a bombing course, then escape, and be picked up by the last shuttle before descending to Earth. In reality, simply crashing the mobile armor itself would cause immense damage, but their target was the Earth Federation Forces headquarters. Loading the missiles was Cray's idea of going the extra mile, a reassuring insurance policy of sorts. "Fast. How's it looking on your end?" "All good." "Lieutenant? Want to take her out for a short flight to get accustomed?" "Yeah, but let's conserve propellant. We don't have much time before the real deal. Let's have the Brave tow us." Soon, the Musai-class cruiser Brave, towing the Zeonic-Corps, slowly pulled away from the mooring boom. Firing its verniers to control its orientation, the ship ventured forth into the darkness of space. They couldn't have known then how this training flight would prove crucial later on, or lead to the most agonizing outcome for Tosh Cray. The Pegasus 3 emerged from the dark depths of L1's shoal zone, silently gliding into Penta's visible space. With a hiss, a reconnaissance camera drone launched from a slit-like aperture beside the bridge. "Decelerate the ship," Heathrow barked, his voice tense with anticipation. Just an hour ago, they had received orders from the Earth Federation Force's headquarters to conduct a reconnaissance in force against Penta. The date and time, April 4th, 0600 hours. "Sir, the recon drone has captured footage of Penta. Transmitting now." The communications officer's words were punctuated by the sudden appearance of the video feed on the ship's main monitor. One battleship, one cruiser. That battleship. It must be the Bull Run. And 3 shuttles. Penta's, no doubt. Planning to descend to Earth, I suppose. In the pilot pit, Mannings watched the same footage, a predatory gleam in his eye. He chimed in via the ship's video intercom. "The battleship looks heavily damaged. We might have a shot at this. Permission to engage with the mobile suit team?" Heathrow's reply was swift and decisive. "The shuttles are our primary target. Based on their cargo capacity, they're not just for repatriating Penta's prisoners. Focus all firepower on the shuttles." "How soon can you launch?" A fierce grin spread across Manning's face. "Immediately. I didn't train our boys to sit around twiddling their thumbs. Want me to make it a high-speed surprise attack? Granted. You have 30 minutes. Suddenly, the recon drone's video feed cut to black. Heathrow tensed, then relaxed as the communications officer reported, "Cable's been severed, sir." In the hangar, the pilots' voices crackled over the comms, taut with anticipation. "G, attacker. Checklist, okay? G, bomber, okay." The final confirmation from West and Crypt, piloting the 2 ungainly machines flanking the Corps fighters' wings. The G-Corps crackled through the cockpit. Z2+2, Sigmund unit, all systems nominal. Z2+1, Chung-Yung unit, locked and loaded. The trailing Z2+ team was also prepared. Now, only the mechanical countdown from the mobile suit officer, MSO, echoed in the cockpit. The mobile suit team hovered beside the stationary Pegasus 3, poised for a simultaneous launch. "Listen up. This is where we end it. All of it." Manning's final transmission came through, and the countdown reached 0. "Let's go, guys." Roots shouted with unbridled enthusiasm as he ignited his boosters. The trailing units, like the G-Corps, spewed dazzling spheres of light that could be mistaken for nuclear explosions. Like arrows of pure energy, the 5 space fighters, the Z2+ units, sleek and deadly in their high acceleration mode, hurled themselves towards Penta, ready to unleash hell.